60 Minutes Overtime.
Waiting for a prince to come. Nora O'Donnell interviewed Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman for 60 Minutes.
Nice to see you.
You spent 90 minutes talking with him and also toured his offices, his home.
This is the office that we both...
What did you learn about him?
Well, that he's bold, he's visionary, but he's also been called reckless and impulsive. Saudi Arabia is important, but what he does in Saudi Arabia can change the entire Middle East.
O'Donnell and two 60 Minutes producers, Vanessa Fika and Graham Messick, met with the prince more than a year ago and showed him past 60 Minutes stories, including this one about Ronald Reagan.
Well, we're coming now to what's called Bald Mountain.
We were trying to explain to him what 60 Minutes was, and he loved it, and he got it immediately.
So once you had him in the interview chair, did he say anything that surprised you?
He said a lot of things that surprised us. What I thought was most amazing is to hear a Saudi leader talk so specifically about what women can wear and what Islamic law actually says.
The laws are very clear and stipulated in the laws of Sharia that women wear decent, respectful clothing, like men.
It's so interesting that the Crown Prince said it's the women's decision to cover or not to cover.
The decision is entirely left for women to decide what type of decent and respectful attire she chooses to wear.
Is there some friction there between what the Crown Prince said in his interview and what you saw on the street?
Absolutely, yeah.
Our team, we were out for dinner, and as we're, on the sidewalk, just chit-chatting, a car just pulls up kind of frantically, and we hear something from a megaphone?
A megaphone.
Yeah, we hear something from like a megaphone, and it's in Arabic. We don't know what they're saying, but then the window rolls down, and this guy looked like the Saudi religious police. He had the head covering and a very long beard.
I took out my iPhone and actually started filming them and walking toward them.
And then we locked eyes, and he told me to cover my hair.
In English?
In English.
Was he yelling at you, or?
I would say hectoring.
Was that surprising that would happen?
We were surprised, but we're pretty read in here, and the religious police have lost their ability to make arrests. I think that Mohammed al-Sheikh, who's one of the people we interviewed, asked us, well, did they arrest you? No.
Did they insult you? Did they do anything?
No.
See, about 3 years ago, you probably would have been
Arrested.
He had a pretty good response, which is, you don't know what it used to be like.
It may be for individual women in Saudi Arabia to work out these changes with their husbands and their fathers.
Right. Another thing Mohammed al-Sheikh said is there's a difference between religious and cultural influences, and there is a culture of modesty and conservatism in Saudi Arabia that's going to be a lot harder to shake loose, to change. I think the Crown Prince, in a lot of ways, he reminds me of one of those eternal optimists like Franklin Roosevelt or Reagan. He's saying these things, and everyone's listening. But when you meet people, there's sort of a wait-and-see approach.
And what do you think about the change for women? I mean, they're going to be able to drive in June.
Yeah.
No comment.
Yeah.
It's not on a dime just changing overnight.
You didn't cover, right? You didn't cover your hair?
No, and I really didn't need to as a Western woman, but every Saudi woman has her head covered. I would have felt uncomfortable not wearing my abaya walking around. You can see here, there are only men.
Did you buy that there?
As a matter of fact, we picked up about half a dozen abayas for the whole team in Brooklyn. And when we got to Saudi Arabia, so many people said, your abaya is so beautiful, where did you buy it? And we said, well, actually, we got it in Brooklyn.
When King Faisal of Saudi Arabia decreed...
60 Minutes has been covering Saudi Arabia for decades, starting in the 1970s.
Riyadh is a strange city. It is the seat of government. The king resides here, and only 30 years ago.
And we looked at some of those reports.
What do you think of the United States?
Now?
You, personally. Yeah, now.
She became our enemy.
And there was one from 2005. Ed Bradley went to Saudi Arabia to look at the changes that were starting to happen then. In that one, the women that they spoke to actually had their faces blurred because they were afraid of retribution.
I like to remove the cover from your hair.
She began talking to us about what she wants.
And I like to be free.
You really need to look at those old 60 Minutes pieces and compare our piece, and you will see a difference. You will see a trendy, hip Saudi woman with her cell phone, on Snapchat, in groups, socializing, out on their own. I mean, we did see quite a bit of that.
Were the women comfortable talking on camera, showing their faces?
There were, especially the women at Princess Nora University. And that's because the head of their school was there and allowed them to speak on camera.
We had an accident.
Okay. There you go. Okay.
The story will continue after this.
There were other women that we met in a more casual setting that didn't even want their pictures taken. I said, can we take a selfie with their head covered? And they said yes. And they said, now don't you use that picture anywhere. Don't post it anywhere, I'll get in trouble. They wanted to see pictures of my family. And then they wanted to show me pictures of them, not with their robes on or their faces covered. And they wanted to know whether I thought they were pretty or whether they were beautiful. And so it was interesting to me that while culturally there's a requirement to cover up, that socially, on social media, there's a desire to show more.
They knew everything about American culture. I was just shocked by that.
Like what?
They knew who Kim Kardashian's makeup artist was. You know, they knew him by name. I don't even know that. So they told me, you know, we watch Seinfeld and we get all the references.
And one person they all know and absolutely love, Oprah.
Because, you know, it's 60 Minutes, you're gonna look perfect.
I've been a fan of this program since 1975.
So we're here at Princess Nora University. This is Dima.
Hello.
She's driving. The Crown Prince realizes you have to change the economy and diversify in Saudi Arabia. In order to do that, you have to change the culture. And if you're going to change the culture, you have to start with women.